Hi, I'm Donald McIntyre, Senior Editor at the ETC Cooperative, and we are here with NourishMint. We're talking to Istora. Hello, Istora. How are you?
Hi, Donald. I'm very well, thanks. How's it going?
Very well, thank you. So, Istora, you have a presentation, and you're going to show us what is the project. My typical questions are to describe the team, the project, and why did you choose ETC? And I believe you have all this information in this presentation.
That's correct. But yeah, do feel free to jump in if you have any further points of clarification needed. So I guess I'll just kick things off.
Very good. Let's go.
Okay, cool. So this presentation is just a short introduction to this NourishMint proposal. But yeah, first of all, I'm Istora. Some of you may have heard my voice on previous Twitter Spaces or community calls, which were hosted in the past. So the problem this project is trying to solve is that, as we've seen in the ETC grants DAO, it can require a lot of effort to distribute funds, even to big projects. And there's a problem that needs to be solved whereby smaller contributions also would be great to be incentivized in order to grow more diverse types of contributions and continue activity for those smaller contributions. So the solution I've come up with is basically a system that aligns various incentives of different parties, and it aims to offload work from grants donors and encourage new types of contributions that are a lot smaller. And we could compare it to systems like Gitcoin, but we wanted to keep things simple and streamlined and as frictionless as possible for everyone involved. So different parties are aligned in different ways, and the following types of micro contributions can be incentivized. So what is a micro contribution? It can be anything from a pull request, such as keeping the Ethereum Classic org website up to date. It could be video uploads, so incentivizing people to create content about ETC. It could even be tweets that are popular and get a lot of traction. It could even be Discord messages. So, for example, someone provides some help or answers a question for someone looking for information on ETC. This can also be rewarded with a proof of contribution. Other things like spaces hosting and basically anything online or offline can be manually validated and rewarded with a proof of contribution. And this also includes usage of the system itself. So it kind of sustains itself by incentivizing people to use it with proof of contributions. This is what the overall system looks like. And we have, starting with our contributor, Bob, no relation there, would make a contribution as he would do today, like creating a GitHub pull request, posting on Twitter, or doing some real life action. This contribution gets registered into the system, and then it gets validated either manually or automatic by a group of validators or a system that can check that a contribution has indeed been made. This is easy in the case of pull requests because it could just check the GitHub API, or it could check the Twitter API to see that a tweet has certain hashtags and a certain number of likes. And that could be automatically validated, but in a lot of cases, it would be manually validated by a pool of validators, similar to how things work on GitHub right now. So once the contribution has been validated, the web app will call a minting contract, which will then mint a proof of contribution NFT. And this goes directly into Bob's wallet, and it can be used in the wider Ethereum Classic ecosystem. And it can also be used to claim a reward from a reward.sol contract, which could be another NFT, an ERC20, or just some Ethereum Classic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the goal is to align incentives and basically offload work from benefactors, such as the ETC grants pool or other big donors that want to nourish the ecosystem. So the actors that maintain the system, validators, will be rewarded for actively contributing. Contributors themselves also get a POC. And then the network as a whole benefits because of not only these contributions, but also the network activity that's happening due to the minting and rewarding process on chain. So that increases network value and also creates these NFTs that can be traded and more DeFi activity in that regard.
Yeah. I have a question here because this is one of the things that I noted. So the participants in the system, a description of the system. Let me see if I got it right. The description of the system is that there's a lot of people who contribute to Ethereum Classic to a cost, in a more generic level, but say that this cause is Ethereum Classic as a blockchain. It's a public network, so people contribute in different ways. Sometimes with a pull request on GitHub, which is a way of contributing, for example, to the website of Ethereum Classic, or the ECIP process, which is contributing to the protocol or to features of the network or the node. And sometimes you contribute by participating in the community on Twitter, for example. So you have contributors. On the other hand, you have benefactors, who would be people who would like to help the network by incentivizing more people by paying them to do these things: pull requests, create a video like you put here, tweets, Discord messages, host a space, etc. I understand perfectly well the concept that when you, I wouldn't compare it to, what's the name of the other one, Git, that you mentioned?
Gitcoin. Yeah.
Gitcoin, because Gitcoin is more to give, no say, $100,000, $50,000, or $1 million to a project. It's more like the big typical grants. This is a micro contribution, so it is a very most interesting idea, because when donors don't have time to be selecting who they want to donate to and see and checking out, like you say, on a day-to-day basis, hour-to-hour basis, the who to donate money, and $50, $100, or for a tweet $2. I don't know what's the amounts that you envision. So you're putting together in a system, and you have the app in the middle, no, that coordinates the activities of the contributors, who is like us, doing actions that are visible through the technology, no, and that the app can capture. And then you have the maintainers that already exist because it's part of our normal process. The maintainers on GitHub, etc., that they are the ones checking whether an ECIP, for example, a proposal for the protocol, is well written, or approving tweets and things like that. So the parts already exist. The contributor would be getting what is the reward in itself? The contributor will be getting an NFT, and that is the reward. Or I saw there then that the person is getting an NFT, and then the NFT is like a receipt or a bill or something that you go and redeem, and then you get the money or whatever it is, and then the NFT is redeemed, for example, and gone, or
So
that part.
A couple of things to note there. One is I'm intentionally avoiding the use of the word payment. It's definitely a reward as opposed to a direct payment, and that's so for a number of reasons I'll get into. And yeah, secondly, you mentioned that this could be deployed to any given type of system. So it's not just for ETC, but the first deployment will be for ETC. And yeah, so this NFT that gets minted, in order to answer your next question, will basically, I have a slide coming up, but essentially it's just a tradable NFT as normal with artwork that's generated upon minting, but then can be, for any number of these reward contracts, be called and essentially consumed by that reward contract. But the owner would still hold the NFT and can still trade it. They just cannot claim the reward multiple times. So
did you say that you prefer for people not to get cash for these rewards?
Well, the system is completely agnostic to what kind of reward is given. But obviously, in the case of the ETC deployment, the first I'll go into a few different examples of rewards.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically a fixed amount of ETC could be given for any given type of contribution.
Yeah,
Or it could
because
be an ERC20. Yeah.
benefactors usually have money to give. They want to benefit something.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So it would be good if people could get money for doing all these things. And it's also good to have the validators, whether the validator is a software, an AI kind of software that filters, because you can have, I don't know, people abusing the system, or humans, no, because it's something that we already do in our day-to-day work, working for ETC.
Right, and the other thing is that the validators are providing a real value, and by keeping the system secure. Currently, everyone's just doing it voluntarily and hoping that they don't give up for some reason. But this creates an incentive for people to actually sign up as validators and provide that service in the long run. So it's really, aligning incentives in that way.
Is validate? Oh, okay. So validators are also a kind of contributors that they will get rewarded.
Exactly. Okay, so the system is designed, was originally designed to just directly reward people, but with the addition of the POC NFT, there's a number of advantages that I think make the system more robust and upgradable. For example, like validators cannot be seen as directly giving people money, which I think that makes validation more of a neutral process, right? So they're really only being rewarded for behaving correctly, and there's a win of opportunity if they allocate a proof of contribution incorrectly, that the funds can be withdrawn by the maintainers of the reward contract. So it's always just a receipt and never an actual reward, which creates a separation of concerns between the validators and the benefactors. So
that's what I thought. No, if the validators are getting paid by the reward system, they could collude with contributors and just approve whatever. So,
yeah, so this
explain that again. I didn't understand very well how.
Yeah, so in the system, right, validators can mint rewards, but at the same time, only if the reward contract is filled or certain NFTs are not blacklisted will they be able to receive the actual reward that's not the POC. So validators, even if they go rogue, have no ability to mint themselves rewards, basically, because the ultimate control is still in the reward.sol contract, which can be withdrawn from by the benefactor. So it creates checks and balances between the different players and incentivizes and aligns their interests.
Okay, so the benefactor has also some control power there.
Yep, and realistically, the system can be having multiple different reward contracts potentially. So if there's an example of one that's working well, then maybe another benefactor wants to create their own reward contract to further incentivize stuff. This is getting into the more complicated types of deployment, but for the very basic one, you can just imagine there's one benefactor. So this design also allows the system to be upgraded quite easily. So you don't need to redeploy the whole system if you want to change the rewards contract. You can just update the address and you could have multiple rewards contracts. And it also means that the proof of contribution NFTs can be traded and have their own kind of social proof value in other parts of the ecosystem. And maybe it could be used, for example, as a way to receive a discount for a conference ticket or something like that. So if you possess this NFT, it might unlock some other reward in the future. Could be used in the metaverse, for example. But that's why having this NFT is better than just directly rewarding people, I think. And yeah, it keeps a receipt on chain of that.
Very good.
So looking more closely at this NFT, it's basically a standard NFT that's used throughout the ecosystem, including on Ethereum mainnet, ERC 721, or something like this schema will be used. And within the NFT, it captures the image that's generated, which will be to be determined, and the metadata about the contribution that's made. So if it was a pull request, it would have the link to the pull request ID and tweet content potentially. And this would be recorded in a hash on-chain content addressed JSON file that can be used to like audit and review all of the contributions that have been minted. Additionally, there will be a weight and a type ascribed to each POC. And the weight will be basically how valuable is this contribution, and the type will be what kind of contribution was made. And then these two values will be used later on in the rewards contract to determine the type of reward that's given. And basically there's a, let's say, a 1 week window of maturity, so that if basically POCs can be revoked if they are unintentionally issued or maliciously issued. So this creates a kind of safety net, and they can never be destroyed, but they can just be marked as revoked, so they can't claim rewards if they are revoked.
Yeah. So my question in this point is, so there's types and weights, types of contributions. For example, can you give examples of a type of contribution and an example of how much they would get, and another type?
Let's say you have one type could be a pull request to Ethereum Classic.org to add a mining pool, for example, and that gets approved and merged, and that's given a weight of 10, for example, because it's not a super difficult thing. And then you might have another pull request type that is an ECIP. So if you draft an ECIP and it gets merged, then you get a weight of 100, for example.
Okay.
Similarly, if you upload a video, it could be 50 tweets, 5. Currently, there's no they're all just like magic numbers, but the system will allow people to basically the benefactors or someone they delegate will be able to determine the different types and weights of these contributions that are accepted. Okay. And there'll be a list, a view on the website of the web app of all of the different contribution types that people can browse through and say, oh, cool, if I make a tweet, I can potentially get this reward. So let's do that.
Very good. Then you said for safety, there's a 7-day cooling off period. Like I just contributed something and I just got an NFT, but I cannot redeem it, or it's not tradable for 7 days, just in case there was fraud or something like that.
Yep. And that just allows if there's like catastrophic system failure where the web app mints like a million NFTs, then they can't be actually redeemed. And
say that during that, just to confirm the previous information you gave us, during that 7-day cooling off period, not only the NFT reward can be reversed in case there was a mistake or a failure of the system, but also the benefactor could say, no, this reward is not what I wanted, something like that. Okay. Yep. The benefactor also has the power to redeem
so you can imagine that the rewards contract is controlled by the benefactor, and he can deposit or withdraw from that contract at any time. And then the minting contract is sort of controlled by the validators who can mint and revoke from there. So there's kind of 2 levels of security.
There's a division of power. And
yes.
In terms of
and also and that also means there's a division of responsibility. So there's no single party that's controlling the system, because the validation is not handled by the benefactor and vice versa.
Very good. Yeah. So it seems that the system is like a platform. No, the web app really is like a platform where multiple causes can be multiple causes, which are usually micro actions, can be rewarded by multiple benefactors, and I could start like, okay, the first cause is going to be Ethereum Classic with one benefactor and with a simple set of actions that are going to be the POCs, the proof of contributions. But I guess that in the future you're planning for this to be like a platform where I can say, okay, now I want to start a system like this, but I don't know, for my church here in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I want benefactors to come and reward people for doing things for the church, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's your vision for this to be a platform?
That's correct, yeah. And it's designed to have no assumptions about either the chain it's deployed to or the type of contributions that are able to be validated.
Very good. And then you have the issuance contract and the rewards contract. The issuance contract is the one that is controlled by the validators, no? And
Yeah.
the rewards contract is the one controlled by the benefactor. So each say that the cause to benefit is Ethereum Classic, and we have 5 kinds of contributions that will be rewarded, and that there's a benefactor. Is it one issuance contract and one rewards contract per cause? Or did you say before that there could be more benefactors and that would imply that there's more contracts?
Right, so because they're decoupled, it means there could be more than one contract of either type. But to keep things simple, let's just imagine there's one of each.
Yes.
And in the first deployment, there will just be one.
One.
But for example, if things are upgraded, then you might need to redeploy a new contract. But having a separation of concerns means that you don't need to nuke the whole POC issuance contract if you just wanted to upgrade the rewards.
Yeah.
But
so not now. For now, is one of each thing. It's very simple. One cause.
Yeah.
One validation. One reward. One reward contract, etc. But in the future, people could say, I only want to benefit the ECIP process. I put $1 million here, and I'm going to pay people to do very smart contributions in the ECIP process, and they're going to get paid for the contributions. But I don't want to do tweets and all that. So things could be separated, even though the cause is the same as ETC. There could be different benefactors. It's very modular in that sense.
Exactly. And if one set of validators has approved like an ECIP, then it shouldn't be the case that they have to issue 2 NFTs. It's just one NFT that could be claimed on multiple different reward contracts in the case that you just described.
Very good. Okay.
So going to rewards, this separation allows for some interesting different mechanisms that can be experimented with to try and see like what's going to encourage the most people to contribute with the least amount of funds, ideally.
By separation, what you mean is separation of the reward as an NFT versus what you can redeem it for.
Yes.
That's the separation you mean. Okay.
Yep. So like the most straightforward would just be a fixed weight equals reward thing. So let's say the reward contract says a POC of weight 100 gets 100 way, and that can be sent pretty straightforwardly. There could also be a ratio whereby a monthly allocation is given, and then all contributions weight are added up and divided. So a fixed pool of rewards is given out, and that could go up or down depending on the number of contributions per weight, basically. You could have a multiplier effect where people that contribute more get more over time. So that incentivizes people to build up a reputation with the system. You could also have various different, more interesting things like contribution of the month, where the top 3 people get an additional bonus, or a raffle where there's like one person that gets a large prize based on a random selection based on the weight.
Yeah.
And then there could be multiple different assets.
Yeah.
So these are just like potential future modules that could be implemented to try and experiment with the, I guess, token economics, if you like.
Yeah, I think that GitHub has this, and there's many systems that have this. I think the multiplier one is the format that is this, which is I contribute, but there's people who contribute 10 contributions, and others that spend a lot of time and they contribute 1,000. So instead of always getting the same reward for each contribution, they can get, let's say after 100, they can get a power contribution NFT or something.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of similar to the Discord like ranking system, I guess. You know,
the more you contribute, the higher status is in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe that could be rewarded with also a POC. If you make 10 contributions, you get a special POC that's you can use as a status symbol, right? So the web app basically will handle, it's kind of like the control center of the system, and we'll have a bunch of user interfaces that allow people or various different actors to manage validators. So the benefactor or the admin they allocate to manage that instance will be able to choose who's being a validator. Obviously, they'll also be able to define what kind of contributions and the weight of those contributions should be able to be issued. Then there's the validation of the contributions themselves, which will be a UI similar to GitHub pull requests, but a little bit more streamlined than the current kind of clunky thing that's on GitHub. There'll be a way to browse all of the proof of contributions issued, both for the user and the whole system as a whole, and then also look at all the rewards that those POCs have been used to issue. Contributor dashboards. So let's say someone posts on Twitter and wants to be able to validate their Ethereum address. Like, how do you know it's them? So the system will have, depending on the platform, if it can be automated, they'll be able to either log in or post a tweet with their address and a certain message that would then be used to validate their address, that will be used to pay out the POC. And then obviously there's some other config for the admins to manage the different addresses used in the system and other things like that.
The contributor dashboard is to manage which address you're going to use, things like that. You said it's like your profile in the system.
Yeah, it's a profile for the individual contributor, so they can check out all of their existing contributions, and if they need to update their address, they can do it there.
Their historic contributions as well.
Correct.
That's important. Okay.
So one of the key things, going back to the very start, is to make sure the system is as frictionless as possible. So we don't want to have it so every single pull request and every single tweet ideally is not manually validated if it doesn't need to be, right? So if the system can say any tweet with hashtag X with over 100 likes is automatically validated, then it should be able to do that to reduce the amount of work required in terms of manual approvals. So basically, whether it's relaying, validating, or issuing rewards, we want to automate as much as possible. And the system will be designed from the start to automate everything when it can. The other important thing is that people should not have to even use the web app in order to receive rewards from the system. Like if you are a contributor and you're only using Discord, you don't need to necessarily even visit this website. You could just make your contribution, and then there's a Discord bot that will ask you what your address is, and then it will issue automatically based on that address. So in order to reduce the amount of interactions needed, then that's an example of how we can achieve that.
So if someone is unaware of this system, but just because they love ETC, they've been contributing to ETC in any of the contributions that are going to be rewarded, the system may someday, one day, come to me, for example, and say, Donald, you have earned many NFTs for your contributions. You already have them. Why don't you give me your address so I can send them to you?
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's
That's
a
the idea.
good recruiting system also as well.
Yep. So that
Recruiting.
it might be a nice surprise for some people that are just not aware, and then suddenly they
$1 million in NFT.
right.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that basically explains the general plan of the system, and I have a slightly revised roadmap for deploying this. It was originally supposed to be Q4 of this year, but I think we can get Q1 of next year for the basic web app and UI, and then the following quarter that will basically be the MVP release with the reward module as well. So that's when ideally we can start issuing actual ETC-based rewards from the system.
That's going to be
And then afterward,
second quarter
sorry.
of 2024.
Yep, that's a fairly conservative estimate, but yeah, obviously development times are pretty difficult to judge, but I think that's pretty reasonable.
Good.
And then from there, we just automate and reduce friction as much as possible and try and grow the system. And there might even be the potential to issue POCs that recruit people to use the system, right? So if you get your friends to use this, then you get a reward as well. So that
Referral.
can be used to grow.
Referral rewards.
That's right.
Excellent.
So yeah, that basically wraps it up.
Why ETC?
Yeah, for all of the discussions we've had before, have covered a lot of it, but essentially I just think that having a proof of work smart contract platform is going to be extremely valuable in the future. And Ethereum Classic is the only viable option at this point. And it's the strongest hash rate of all the proof of work smart contract platforms. So I think it's A, undervalued, and B, people will realize it's going to be undervalued very soon because of there's one other element to this that I think will be more apparent in the world of AI. And I think this system is also designed to be AI friendly, if you like. So you don't need to register, you just need to provide an address. So the system is kind of agnostic as to whether or not contributors are AI agents of the future. So it could be that this kind of bootstraps. Let's say you have an AI agent that's like, hey, go out on the internet and find some ways to make money. We can only do that if it's on a blockchain. And then this is a platform that allows those agents to be rewarded in something like Ethereum Classic, which can then fund more agents of its nature. So I think having a smart contract based proof of work system is going to be the choice of blockchain for these future AI agents if they do come.
So basically, in summary, within the consensus mechanisms, you have proof of authority, proof of stake, and proof of work. Your judgment is that proof of work is the best for the system, especially because you want it to be neutral for anybody to participate. Therefore, you need true decentralization and security.
Absolutely, it's the only objective way to secure a network in terms of proof of stake is by definition subjective consensus mechanism, and it also is not permissionless. So I think it would be trivially easy in the future when pressured for proof of stake validators to censor transactions, which is impossible in proof of work.
Yeah, that already happened, and now because of volunteering, they reduced the censorship, but it was just a subjective moment in the history of proof of stake. When the higher powers start to pressure them, they're gonna have to censor again.
Exactly.
And so proof of work, that is the first pillar, in a way, or the first reason. The second reason that you said is that within the proof of work blockchain, Ethereum Classic is the largest programmable one, the largest one that supports smart contracts. And because of that design, it is very friendly to AI agents.
Correct. Well, that's just one of the sort of recent interesting points. But even before I was interested in Ethereum Classic, it's kind of obvious that, I mean, systems like this, like NourishMint, can't be done in Bitcoin, for example, because it's too complicated. The different user roles just cannot function. The DeFi scope is limited. There's no such thing as, well, you have ordinals, but you don't have the same flexibility as NFTs that can be verified by a reward contract, for example. And I think that combination of programmability and the strong consensus mechanism make it the only choice, really, because everything else is a trade-off for scalability or some other less important feature. Whereas these are the really important ones, I think.
Excellent. Well, Istora, thank you very much for your presentation. I personally think that the project is amazing. It's an incredible idea. I'm very happy that you are implementing it first to benefit Ethereum Classic, but in general, the project, I think the solution here is that the donation market, let's call it like that, or donation industry, or the benefactor industry, which is all charity that is given in the world to causes, must suffer of this granularity or this capillarity problem, which is below a certain threshold, say, $10,000 or something like that, just to say something, it becomes difficult for donors to be on a daily basis or spending their time classifying projects and categorizing them and reading them or causes, or actions to benefit. But this system automates everything and reduces the cost of distributing small amounts of money to causes that you want to benefit. So I think that is a very, very smart niche, I think, that you have chosen.
Well, thanks for those comments. And yeah, to kind of wrap that up, I would say that it's a problem that as contributors we can recognize directly, but it's difficult to see when you're not on the ground doing these things and like waiting for people to approve stuff. And it's like, I wish there was a way to incentivize people to collaborate on this. And I think this really came out of trying to solve that problem that we face on a daily basis. So hopefully this can address that.
Excellent.
And yeah, nourish the seeds of grassroots contributions.
Yes. Bueno, thank you very much, Istora, for your presentation.
Okay, thanks, Donald. Really appreciate the call.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.